Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending with SureCall. Today's host is Jason Hayes. He is the National Account Manager there at SureCall. And if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the question box, and I'll ask them to Jason at the end of today's presentation. Thank you very much, Jason, for being with us today. Appreciate your time. Go ahead and take it on over.
Thank you, Julie. Always a pleasure. Welcome, Microcom team. Happy to be here. The presentation that I put together for you today is dealing with the industry's best mobile signal boosters. We've talked about our mobile boosters in the past. I wanted to kind of touch on it again today with a couple of things that maybe we haven't really touched on previously. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it today. As Julie said, my name is Jason Hayes. I'm the National Account Manager at SureCall, and that is the best picture I could come up with today. It's a day when you're trying to find a photo of yourself, and that's the best you got. But anyway, apologize for the sunglasses. I don't remember where I was at when that was taken, but like I say, best picture I could find this morning. So there you have it. So there are a few things that really set SureCall apart product-wise, and especially when we're talking about mobile products. And this is kind of a bullet point list of the SureCall difference. Obviously, we pride ourselves in being the industry leaders with performance and quality. Our products are all built to last. We really put them through a rigorous engineering process to really make sure that they're durable and that the components are going to last a long, long time. These boosters that we're going to talk about today, they boost all North American carriers and signals. So everything in the U.S. and Canada is affected by these boosters. And then, of course, we pride ourselves on our leading customer satisfaction, best warranty in the industry, best money-back guarantee, which is 60 days from the time a customer purchases this. There's a no questions asked money-back guarantee, and our warranty is 3 years on all of these. So really quickly, we've talked about this before, but I always like to touch on it, how we make this work. How do we turn a weak cell signal into a strong cell signal? And specifically, when we're talking about mobile boosters, the idea with these is we want to get you further down the road without losing signal or dropping a call. And so these boosters, if I didn't mention it already, they boost voice and data. So 3G, 4G, LTE, all of those signals will be boosted simultaneously. And with the mobile boosters, we want to get you through that dead spot from one coverage area to the next. And so what we're really looking to do is get you, with the boosters I'm talking about today, anywhere from 20 to 30, 35 miles further down the road without having a signal issue. So that should get you through most dead zones. You know, obviously there are areas where you're going to find a dead zone that's bigger than that, but we're going to keep you connected a lot longer than you would otherwise. So you can kind of see across the top there the signal strength from poor to excellent. And as I don't know why they measure it this way, I'm not an engineer, but the closer we get to 0 on that dB scale, the better the signal is. So over there at the tower, you're looking at, you know, an excellent signal of -50 to -70 dB, and then in the good range, you know, -80 to 90. And as you get over here to the -100 dB, that's a pretty poor signal, and it's going to be tough for you to do anything. But what we do is we take that existing cell signal, regardless of how weak it is, and we boost it up to a usable signal in most cases. We are at the mercy of the signal that we're starting from. So the worse the signal that we're boosting, the less we're going to be able to increase that signal. So really quick, a product overview. We're just talking about 2 mobile products today, and so I'm hoping we can just dive into these a little bit deeper than maybe we have in the past. The first one that I want to talk about is a fairly new product. This is the Fusion Trek, and you can see the part number there at the bottom and the $199.99 MSRP. The cool thing about the Trek is it's the first ever single user signal booster with no outside antenna. Most of the mobile boosters that you see on the market, you have to have a magnetic or an NMO mount antenna that goes outside the vehicle. And that's traditionally the way we've always done it. That does work really well to bring the most signal inside the vehicle. But for a single user option, we actually discovered that we don't have to have an antenna outside the vehicle. And so you can see the product image here. You've got that real tall bar looking piece, and it's got the suction cup on it. That is actually the outside antenna, or what traditionally would have been the outside antenna, and the signal booster itself built into one unit. And so this is designed to suction cup and then stand on the back shelf, if you will, the back window of the vehicle. This can be mounted in a truck or a van as well on the back window. And it brings that signal in through that window and then boosts it and sends it to the inside antenna, which is that magnetic cradle that they can just mount on your vents up front. And so it's, like it says here, a single user piece, a single user option, and you magnetically mount your phone to that antenna, and whichever phone is mounted will receive that signal boost. So one phone at a time, but it's going to boost voice and data, all your 3G, 4G, and LTE signals, all carriers in the US and Canada like we talked about. So again, the big thing with this booster is no outside antenna. If you're going through the car wash, you don't have to go, oh, I got to take down my antenna, otherwise it's going to get ripped off. And you don't have anything outside the vehicle. Everything's contained inside. So this attracts a certain customer base, a certain group of people that go, wow, you know, I've always thought about getting a cell phone booster, but I really don't want to put an antenna outside. And hey, look, we've got one. Case closed. So this is actually a quote from a customer from February that we've included in the presentation today. So there are those select people that want a signal booster, need a signal booster, but you know, hey, I'm not putting a magnet on the roof of my Mercedes or whatever it might be. And so the Fusion Trek contains everything needed to boost your cell signal inside the car, and the only drawback is that it's a single user option. It's one phone or one device at a time. And this is a really quick setup. The Fusion Trek, you know, you suction cup that to the back window, and you can see examples of, you know, a traditional cab of a pickup truck, and as well on the right there, the back window of a vehicle. So that donor antenna and amplifier is built into one unit there, as you can see. And then the magnetic phone mount, which we include several different magnets that you can put on the back of your phone, or, you know, between the phone and the cover or the case, whatever works best for you. We've got a couple of different options there. And then you just get in the car and set it on the magnet, and away you go with a full signal boost. So staying connected with the Trek is because there's no outside antenna, this is the simplest, quickest setup and installation on a product like this that we've ever had, and it delivers a really strong signal boost. We actually tested this. Tested this in southern Utah, which is where we have a satellite office. That's the office I work out of. And I don't know if any of you have ever driven from Las Vegas north on I-15 into southern Utah and beyond, but right between Nevada and southern Utah, there's a stretch of I-15 called the Virgin River Gorge, and it's a beautiful drive, but it's there's about a 10-minute stretch there where it's 300 or 400 foot high cliffs on either side, and for most of that 10-minute stretch there is very, very little signal. It's spotty at best. And so we actually have a case study that I can get into a little bit more with this, and we've tested both this product and the one I'm going to talk about next in the Virgin River Gorge, and we had some amazing results, which I'll kind of talk about a little bit later. But the Fusion Trek is a great option for single user, one phone at a time. Jumping into the Fusion To Go 3, Fusion to Go 3.0. This is the most recent iteration of the Fusion to Go, which is a real rugged, durable, powerful booster that we've had on the market for a long, long time. The 3.0 is twice as powerful as the next closest competitor, including the Fusion to Go 2.0. This is just a much more powerful booster. We were able to bump up the downlink power and still stay within FCC regulations. And what that means is it's delivering a lot faster data speeds. Your calls are going to be sharper and clearer. Your battery's going to last longer, all those things that we tout, but just double the performance on this guy. So reliable voice, text, and 4G LTE signals to fleets and drivers and passengers who frequently stay on the edge of cellular networks. So obviously this one does have an outside magnetic mount antenna. The benefit though to this is with that added power and that added signal delivery with the outside antenna, we can actually boost signal inside the cab of the vehicle that can be beneficial to multiple users inside the vehicle. Again, this is working for all phones, all carriers, regardless of your device. It's gonna boost any cellular device in the cab of the vehicle. So you don't have to set your phone on a magnet cradle or anything like that. You can just get inside the car and fire it up and benefit from that signal boost. So, like we talked about, this has the highest output power of any mobile booster. The reason that's important, as you can see on the right there, we're comparing this to a competitor's booster. The Fusion to Go 3.0 is, according to independent testing that we've sent this out to, is the most powerful signal booster for a mobile application that's ever been on the market. So you can see all the check marks there off to the right. It's going to work with all carriers supporting voice, 3G, and 4G LTE. Because the phone is getting a stronger signal, your phone doesn't have to work as hard. So we're preserving battery life. We already talked about supporting multiple users. Best performance for isolated areas, best performance for urban and rural areas, and best performance for data speed. So really it's hitting all of those categories and just outperforming any other booster out there. So the way that this is set up, I've got a little diagram of how this thing installs in the vehicle, and it's pretty straightforward. You've got a magnet mount antenna on the outside of the vehicle. Sorry about that, I got to turn off the sound on my phone there. But that's receiving signal from the tower, and that's connecting to the booster, which typically mounts, under the driver's seat or the passenger seat or wherever it's convenient in your vehicle. And then from there, we power it from the DC power port or the cigarette lighter adapter, and then we've got the patch antenna that typically we recommend that's centrally located in the cab of the vehicle, whether it's on the shoulder or the armrest of one of the seats or on the center console or something like that to really centralize that signal dispersion. So the field test that I alluded to, this is kind of a quick shot of one little section of the Virgin River Gorge, and this photo doesn't actually do it justice. There are some really high cliffs on either side, and you're kind of winding through this canyon as you head up or down I-15 between northern Nevada and southern Utah. But you can see we had a very unusable signal when we started, and this is showing that signal strength at, kind of a -90 to -100 range, a pretty crummy signal. Your data speeds are going to be almost non-existent at that point, and you're probably going to drop a call as well. So we had some pretty poor signal. Now when we plugged in the Fusion to Go 3, our signal all of a sudden bumped up to a -73 dBm, very usable signal. Nice strong data and voice, and everything was smooth sailing all the way through that stretch. So this is a great case study. This is one that we actually did the speed test here. You can test the true speed of your connection. There are several apps that will allow you to do that, and we had a great data speed test on that as well. So this is a diagram that kind of breaks that down for you. You can see I'm colorblind, I apologize. It's either the blue or the green bars there. Negative 73 dBm with diffusion to go 3, which is a great strong signal. Negative 98 dBm was with the competitor's booster, and that's pretty typical with any competitor booster that we tried, but we used the best of the competitor's boosters. I won't say whose it was, but negative 98 was the best it was able to do. Now, when you move over to the data rates, 12 Mbps down, and the competitors was 1.4, and then the 4.3 and 0.8. So on the uplink and the downlink, they were quite a bit lower than the Fusion to Go 3. So pretty dramatic difference there with this signal booster. So one quick note, and something we haven't really talked about in the past, is not a big deal, but something that the FCC requires is that the end user, whoever buys the booster, once the booster is set up, you have to register that booster with your particular carrier. It's more of a red tape kind of thing, not something that is really enforced, but we like to point that out to you, and we've got all the websites for the major carriers here. You can also get these from the FCC website if you want, or give me a call if you have questions or if your customer has a question. But that's just a requirement from the FCC, always has been. And so when the customer opens up the package, when they buy this booster, there is a card that kind of reminds them, hey, once you get this set up, just go on really quick and register your booster so that we can keep all our ducks in a row and make sure that we follow the FCC guidelines there. So that's all I have for today. Just a quick run through of our two newest mobile boosters. This is the number for our in-house US-based tech support, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's the toll-free number there. My number is at the beginning of this presentation. Feel free to give me a call at any time as well. I'm now going to take just a few minutes or however long we need to dive into some questions for you, if we have any.
Thank you very much, Jason, for that wonderful presentation. We've enjoyed it. And yes, we do have some questions. Let me start off here with the first one. Let's see here. It says, so if there is no signal to begin with, there is no way to boost anything. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct in principle. Now, something to keep in mind, though, is the way I like to think of it is we can't make waves unless we have a little bit of water, right? So when you're talking about signal, we do have to have a little bit of signal to start with, or else, obviously, if there's no signal to begin with, we have nothing to boost at all. But keep in mind that our signal boosters have about a 20-25 times greater receiver sensitivity than the average cell phone. In other words, a cell phone, if it doesn't read a usable signal for the phone, that is, it'll say 0 bars or no signal. And that's not always the truest indication of what signal is out there. If you had a more sensitive receiver, you know, say a signal meter or a booster, something like that, that can detect a weaker cell signal than your phone can detect, you would see that there actually is some signal. And so in most cases, even when your phone is saying there's no signal, in most cases there's a little bit of signal that we can grab onto and boost, just enough to give you a usable signal through that dead zone. So it's rare that there is zero signal and literally nothing that we can boost. It does happen, though. And so we're always real upfront with people, you know, this is a signal booster. It's not it's a signal creator. It's not a mobile cell tower, right? So it's not going to create something out of nothing is the thing to keep in mind. But yeah, these do have a much greater receiver sensitivity than the phone. So in most cases, you're going to be okay.
Thank you very much for that, Jason. Next question. Can you connect multiple devices in a single vehicle? For example, a surveillance van or a bus? And by multiple devices, meaning multiple TREC units, not cell users.
Oh, okay. That's a great question. Yeah. I haven't had that question before. I think that would work just fine. The thing to keep in mind is that we have a certain amount of separation between what we call the donor antenna or the outside antenna. In this case, this would be the Trek piece that mounts on the rear window. There has to be a certain amount of separation between that piece and the inside antenna. And so I think you could do multiples as long as the donor antennas and the magnetic cradle antennas were separated by, the appropriate distance. I think it's 6 or 8 feet or whatever it is. But you could probably do multiples inside a vehicle as long as that separation remained intact. Now, putting the inside antennas close to each other shouldn't cause a problem, and putting the donor antennas close to each other shouldn't cause a problem. It's just the donor antenna and the magnetic cradle inside antenna have to be a certain distance apart. It's kind of like a microphone and a speaker. If you get them too close together, you're going to get that noise or that feedback. Very similar with a cell signal booster. So I think the short answer is yes, you could. Just be mindful of that separation or that distance between donor antenna and inside antenna.
Thank you, Jason. Next question. In addition to a vehicle, is the Fusion Track also compatible in an RV?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of trim down, I took out the RV portion of the mobile presentation, but we can definitely talk about that. We do have an RV version of the Fusion to Go 3, which is basically the same booster, and we just include different antennas. So you can mount a bigger, more powerful antenna outside the RV, and same thing on the inside to really broadcast that boosted signal throughout the entire RV. But to your point, and I think what the question is maybe getting at, yeah, we could install one of these in an RV. If you wanted to do something with the Fusion Trek, for example, inside an RV, you could definitely do that. It would just be the same kind of a single user setup. So, your phone would have to be on that magnet cradle for it to really receive the signal boost. But let your customers know SureCall does offer an RV kit specifically for an RV that in most places will boost signal inside the RV for everybody. So, you're talking about a trailer-sized signal boost, basically, anywhere from 15 to 20 feet by, say, 8 to 10 feet wide. It'll boost signal throughout the entire RV for everybody at the same time. And I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Jason. Next question here. If you're on a road trip and you get close to Mexico or Canada and you actually go into those countries, will the Fusion Track also support the signal?
Yeah, absolutely. So the signals, the carriers obviously are different. In Canada, you don't see AT&T and Verizon, you see Rogers and Bell and whatever. And so the carriers are different, but the frequencies that they use are the same. And so yeah, the way that the booster works is it's taking all of those cellular frequencies and it's enhancing them. It's boosting them and sending them back out to your phone. And so yeah, as long as your phone is set up to roam and jump from one carrier's network to the other, the signal boost is boosting that frequency, and so you're going to be covered. So the answer is yes, you'll be just fine in any place in North America or Canada. Mexico's a little bit different, but yeah, the frequencies are very similar in Mexico. I think you could, we sell a lot of these in Mexico, so I think you're going to be in the same boat there.
Thank you, Jason. Next question. Do we see usage of these units within, for example, first responders units? And if so, do you have any studies on this?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I could get a couple of studies, and I'll try to include something for the next presentation. That's actually a really good point. We do a lot with fleets and first responder type boosters. Typically, the one that the first responders prefer is the Fusion to Go 3, just because it's a lot more rugged, it's a lot more powerful. paramedics and police officers and firefighters, they don't care about having an antenna outside on the vehicle. In fact, they're used to that. A lot of their devices need that anyway. And so the more rugged, the more durable, the more powerful, the better off you're going to be. And yeah, we've actually done a lot with fleets with Fusion to Go 3 just because it is the most powerful booster out there, and those guys need to stay connected. So yeah, definitely, I can get some case studies there. After the presentation, if you want to shoot me an email, and I have my info on that second or third slide in, I can go back to it if we need to, but my email address is jason.hayes@surecall.com, and send me a quick inquiry just to jog my memory, and I'll send out the case study, the link to the case studies that we have, and connect you with someone in marketing if we need to get you more white papers or things like that. But yeah, we do a lot with first responders. Now, something to clarify is we do, on the in-building side, we do actually boost the standard public safety frequencies, which is typically 700 and 800 and sometimes 900 megahertz SMR. But on the mobile side, we don't. It's just the cellular signal. So we don't actually boost the first responder radio signals on the mobile side, at least not yet. That may be coming, but a lot of those guys really need a cell phone signal boost to stay connected when they're remote. So shoot me an email and I'll send you that case study. That's a great question.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. I'll make sure anybody who may ask, I've got your email address as well. Next question. Are there any fees when one goes to register their device? Like you mentioned earlier in the presentation about registering with your mobile carrier?
That's a great question, and the answer is no. There's no ongoing fee. Basically, you buy the booster one time and you register it with your carrier. They don't charge a fee because you're already paying for their cell service. And this device, you're going to buy it and pay for it one time. There's no connection charge. There's no usage charge. There's no monthly cost at all, and no fee whatsoever. So you're basically just buying the device, and you're registering with your carrier to authorize using the device on their network. And so, no, you buy the booster once and you're good to go, and anywhere you go, you're going to stay connected much, much better.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Next question. Do you have a link or a list where one could view all the supported carriers? I know you mentioned the major ones like AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon, but what about the other carriers?
I could put something together for you. Again, if you want to shoot me an email, I can have our guys list those out. But essentially, these are boosting signals for the cellular carriers, and again, not so much the public safety frequencies, the first responder specific frequencies, but anything that's allocated for cellular by the FCC is going to be boosted. So it's a series of frequencies off the spectrum. We don't really put together a list of all the carriers because it's all encompassing when it comes to cellular. It's 700 to like 2700 megahertz. It's across the cellular spectrum, boosting everybody.
Okay, great. So it doesn't really matter then who your carrier is what you're saying. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. Keep in mind, carriers from time to time, they're going to jump from one frequency to another. They're going to find that this frequency over here works better for 4G, and so they're going to migrate over there. They're constantly trading and selling frequencies under the direction of the FCC and under the approval of the FCC. And so our boosters just boost the frequency. We don't care who the carrier is, as long as the end user is letting their carrier know per FCC requirements that they're using a booster. We're just boosting signal for everybody. So it's, like I say, it's that wide band, 700 to 2700 megahertz across the spectrum, all at once.
Fantastic, Jason. Thank you so much for answering all those questions. And thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar. And if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to contact your sales rep, or you can email us at sales@microcomtech.com. If you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown today, please visit us at www.microcom.us. And remember, this webinar presentation has been recorded and to our Microcom YouTube channel, so you can view it again. Thank you again, everybody, for your time, and thank you, Jason. Appreciate everything.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate the time. Have a great day.
Welcome. Thank you.